Welcome to the Base Path, brought to you by New England Baseball Journal. I'm your host, Dan Guttenplan, in studio with our MIAA analyst, Pat Donnelly. Pat, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're getting up to the state championships just starting tomorrow.
Yeah, it's an exciting weekend. It's MIAA Tournament Championship weekend. We're going to have 5 championship games over the next 2 days. We're recording on Friday afternoon. But the games that were supposed to be played today have been postponed until Sunday. So the D2 and D5 championship games will be Sunday. Tomorrow will be D1, D3, and D4. And we're going to go through all those matchups and kind of take a look at the tournament. We'll take a look at the 10 finalists for the MIAA Player of the Year, which we do every year. And we'll kind of take you through that. If you are in the car going to the tournament, maybe this is something you'll want to listen to preview the games. All right, so Pat, why don't we start with D1, and we'll take a look at that bracket. You've covered quite a few of these games throughout the tournament, so you have seen a lot of these teams in the championship. We have number 1 BC High, and they're facing off with number 2 St. John Shrewsbury, and this is kind of a matchup that's been in the making all year. Those two teams have been terrific since the start of the season. I think you may have even had St. John Shrewsbury as the number 1 team in the beginning of the year. You've had BC High at the number 1 spot for a while. What do you know about these two teams?
Yeah, I think Shrewsbury was my championship pick at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So this is, a lot on the line for me. But, it's tough to, not tough, but kind of annoying. You get a chalk matchup at the end, but it's just the way it had to go. These two teams were clearly the best all season. For most of the year, they were going back 1 and 2 in my rankings. So the way it's going like this, especially with the pitching matchup, it's probably going to be Brady Shea for Shrewsbury against Sam Keene for BC High, two of the very best in the state. So it doesn't really get any better than that.
Yeah, we were just talking before we got started here. BC High's kind of cruised. Liam Keene has been dominant, just as he was in the regular season, but he's been dominant in the state tournament. He's likely to be unavailable in this game. Who are we expecting to see on the mound?
Yeah, so Brady Shea, like I mentioned, kind of, the box score wasn't, kind to him against St. John's Prep in the quarterfinals. I think it was 6 runs, 3 earned, but that was an insane game. It was crazy back and forth. It was a 7-6 final in 9 innings, and he started really well. He had all his pitches working. And then you look at BC High, Sam Keene, last time out gave up 1 earned run with 7 strikeouts against Springfield Central. He has a 2.3 ERA this season. So really, take your pick. If Keene was available, BC High would have an ace, but they have Keene, so they have another ace available.
Right.
So really one of the potentially the best pitching matchups we get of the entire tournament, and you could say the same for Keene versus Angel Baez last time out in the semifinals against Leominster. But I mean, as far as you get here, it doesn't get better. It was Shea, I think, comes in with a 1.53 ERA. It's gone up a little bit since the end of the regular season, off the top of my head, I think, but still just as good as it gets.
Yeah, and Angel Baez, he was a finalist as well for Player of the Year. That matchup, was probably 2 of the top candidates. We ranked the top 10, but those guys were definitely in the hunt. Tyler Kroppis is definitely in that mix too. And then even at the DC or at the D2 level, DC Brown is in the mix too. So they're all still alive. Not Angel Baez. He got bounced in the last round. But, the theme of this D1 tournament to me is, and we'll see this along the way in some of these other divisions too. Division 2, I think, is chalk as well with 1 versus 2. I think Division 3 is 1 versus 2.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of these, and even D5, which is usually higher seeds getting, some upsets in there, is 1 versus 3. But anyway, one of the things to look at here, 3 Catholic conference schools in the Final Four in this. Among the Final Four teams, it was 5 of the top seeds. So the four semifinalists were all seeded high, 5 or higher. I think it was 1, 2, 3, and 5. With Leominster coming in at 5, they knocked off Braintree, which was the 4 seed. So what do you make of the Catholic Conference getting 3 schools here in the Final Four?
I think it's just sort of a testament to the way it went on all season, where you had BC High and St. John Shrewsbury 1 and 2 pretty much the entire year. Put them flip-flop them on a given week. And then Xaverian was, I think I had him 4th pretty much for most of the year. So it shook out I guess not to toot my own horn, but kind of the way we had it.
Yeah.
The only surprise I would say would be, we talked about some sleepers, and at number 4, Braintree's not really a sleeper, but they were unbelievable at the start of the season for most of the season, pretty much. To not get past Leominster in 10-5 fashion was a little surprising. But obviously Leominster 5th seed going against the 4th seed, it's tough to call that an upset.
Yeah.
And then we had Lincoln Sudbury. They were kind of getting hot at the right time as a 14 seed, and even defending champion Taunton kind of going down quietly 6-1 against Durfee. Those were like 3, I guess, public school non-Catholic conference teams that you thought had a run in them. And obviously it just, it kind of, if you want to say it's strength of schedule for the Catholic Conference, battle tested all season. That's sort of what prevails this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Durfee over Taunton was my biggest surprise. I still was thinking Taunton might be able to go, three-peat, I guess. They had repeated last year, and they're just so tough in the tournament. I was surprised to see 11 Durfee knocking off 6 Taunton. And the Hockomock League in general this year surprised me. It's been Taunton and Franklin in the championship game the last 2 years, and neither of them advanced past I guess Taunton got bounced in the quarterfinals?
Yep.
So let's take a look at the finalists for that MIAA Player of the Year from D1. I have them listed here, and we'll just kind of take a look. Did they help themselves in the state tournament? Did they hurt themselves? The first 2 I have listed, and we've been over these 2, is Liam Canine and Angel Baez. And I would say probably that semifinal matchup where Canine came out on top over Baez kind of puts Canine a little bit ahead of Baez. Is that the way that you have it?
Yeah, I would say so. Baez was great in that game, both at the plate and on the mound. It was just kind of one blow up pitch that derailed him, wild pitch, and the inning gets away from him. But he kind of struggled in the quarterfinals against, I believe, I'm blanking on the quarterfinal matchup there. But round of 16, he didn't pitch, but struggled at the plate a little bit. So not that he hurt his stock, but I would say Canine definitely did a lot more for his stock in that game. And just, where he's been kind of all season long against quality opponents. And now you see here in the playoffs where he's just continued to do it game after game, pitch after pitch. It's hard to look away from him right now.
Yeah. Nick Bonica from Westford Academy, Hayden Regan from Braintree they're probably hurt by the fact that their teams did not get to the semis. You kind of want to see these guys make some late runs. Pat Rhodes at Zavarian, what kind of tournament did he have?
So yeah, Pat Rhodes with Zavarian. I don't believe it was Paul McCarthy in the semifinals, and Pat Rhodes through in the quarterfinals. Jeez. Finished the season 7-0, 1.2 ERA, 0.9 WHIP. He threw a complete game, 2-hitter in the quarterfinals. So I would say that's definitely one to boost his stock with 7 strikeouts and a high pressure situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Noah Basgard from St. John Shrewsbury was in the top 10. Brady Shea probably was right there with him. 1-2 from St. John Shrewsbury. Like you said, Brady Shea gave up 6 runs the other day, so maybe he wouldn't have helped himself. Is Noah Basgard having a good tournament? I haven't seen much from him.
Yeah, when in the game against the Prep, I think he left with an injury. If off the top of my head, just leading up to that, it seemed to be pretty quiet from him. He hasn't pitched a lot this year. It's been a lot of first base for him in DH.
Yeah, I think he's got an arm injury that is requiring him just to DH this year. So, it's difficult if you're not a two-way guy because there's so many guys here contributing as two-way guys. And then finally, Matt Stewart at Chelmsford. They were one and done, so it's tough to say he could hang up there with Canine or even Baez. So let's go to D2. Let's take a look. Like I said, it's another one where it's chalk. 1 Walpole versus 2 Plymouth North. The top 4 seeds advance to the semifinals with 3 Westfield and 4 Milford. So this is kind of played out as you would expect. What are you thinking here for the championship game?
Yeah, it's the same thing as D1 and even D3, where you get chalk, but when you look at these teams on the balance of the season, it felt like it just had to end this way.
Yeah.
So for D2, it's looking like it'll probably be Alex He versus DC Brown, if I'm just kind of doing the mental math here of rest and when they threw and stuff. But for Plymouth North, Matt Nardone has really been awesome in the second half of the season offensively. That continued in the semifinals. He went 3 for 3 with a triple and an RBI. Ryan Walsh has been one of the offensive firepowers for Walpole all season. That's continued so far. So again, it's D1, or it's the same story as D1, where it just feels like it's the best of the best that we can possibly get out of this tournament.
Yeah. The big surprise for me here was, it's hard to say a big surprise when the top 4 seeds advance to the semifinals and the top 2 advance to the championship. But Milton, 2-time defending state champion, number 5 seed, fell to number 12 Woburn. That was a 1-0 game. And the tough part for Milton is, first of all, Player of the Year finalist Scott Longo pitched their opening game in the round of 32. He threw a no-hitter in a 4-0 win over Somerville. And then they found that second dominant start that they needed, to get Scott back out there a second time. Milton's Leo Lyons struck out 10 in 7 innings in a 1-0 loss to Woburn. So if they had just gotten through that game, who knows? But tough loss for Milton, but admirable run here the last few years for them.
Yeah, for sure. And what Scott Longo will be a senior next year, with kind of him alone and sort of the other pieces they'll have coming back. It's tough to count them out for next year. And if you look at the Player of the Year conversation, it certainly helps when you throw a no-hitter in the playoffs, but it is tough. He didn't get a deep run, sort of like the other guys we talked about in D1.
Right, yeah. And Tommy Mitchell for Milton was not healthy this year. He was injured. I think he had Tommy John surgery, and he would have been a really valuable arm for them to have, especially this time of year. Netting Professionals is proud to be the official netting partner of the Cape Cod League and the New England Collegiate Baseball League. Netting Professionals is in the sports business of improving athletic programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals designs, fabricates, and installs custom netting, wall padding, windscreen, batting practice equipment, and much more for high schools, colleges, commercial facilities, and stadiums throughout the United States while providing high-quality products and great service to numerous baseball programs throughout the New England area. To learn more and to speak to a Netting Professionals representative today, visit them at nettingpros.com. Remember, when it comes to netting, it's Netting Professionals.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students could earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
But do not count out DC Brown for the Player of the Year. Last year, Owen McHugh came back for Milton in the championship game and was lights out. He ended up winning our championship, or our Player of the Year for MIAA. DC Brown's had a good tournament. He blanked Norwood 3-0 in the round of 8. So who knows? Don't count him out if he gets on the mound and dominates. He's still in that mix with Liam Kineen probably.
Yeah, for sure, and especially where Kineen didn't really have the threat at the plate that DC Brown does. Is, he can make an impact tomorrow or Sunday now, both at the plate and on the mound. We've seen it before this season when he threw a no-hitter and I think hit 2 home runs in the same game.
Yeah.
So certainly a performance like that would go a long way, but easier said than done.
Hey, you never know. He's had a great year. All right, let's take a look at D3 now. Again, 1 versus 2. This is Oakmont versus St. Mary's. Another interesting matchup here. It seems like these guys have been kind of on a collision course all year. Who do you expect to see on the mound for these two?
Yeah, looks like if I had to guess, Caleb Allen for Oakmont, was another one of our Player of the Year candidates, or at least one to watch going in. I think he threw a complete Game 4 hitter last time out. Yeah. And then, you have Josh Doney for St. Mary's, also threw a complete game, a 1-hitter in the quarterfinals. So again, for it's sort of the same thing we've said for Division 1 and 2 so far, where it felt like it was just, like you said, a collision course. St. Mary's was fantastic at the start of the year. They were on this huge undefeated run. They were in our top 10 for a lot of the year. And Oakmont, kind of the sleeping giant, where St. Mary's stole the headlines, but they're the defending champion for a reason.
Yeah. And this one, Tantasqua beat Hanover 3-0 in 8 innings in the semifinals. Otherwise, it would have been another one where the top 4 seeds advance because number 4, Apponequet, is in there. Biggest surprise for me in this D3 bracket, Number 37 Belchertown beat number 5 Blackstone Valley. Jake Waller was a story in that game. He pitched 7 innings for Belchertown, and it wasn't a dominant start. He struck out only 2. He walked 2. He scattered 4 hits, but he allowed 1 run, and then he was also the offensive leader. He had a hit and drove in a run, and that was kind of the difference in that game. Any big surprises for you in that D3 tournament, or do you have the same one, Belchertown?
Yeah, it was going to be the same one for me. It also just mentioned number 24 Tewksbury over number 9 Wakefield. Seems like the further down we got in the tournaments, D3, D4, D5, we were seeing a lot more upsets, which is always pretty exciting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's our guy Matt Feld, Tewksbury, who had a great year coaching. He was on our MIAA beat last year, and so it's good to see him doing well in the coaching world now. All right, let's take a look at D4. D4. So that's kind of the bracket that Tyler Seekonk, Tyler Kroppus and Seekonk have dominated in recent years. The story going into the final will be whether Tyler Kroppus can play. He got the start in the semifinal game where I believe that was against Salem. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Salem. So he got the start. He went down with an injury after 2/3 of an inning, and then Cole Aruda and Colin Lush finished off a shutout in relief. So I don't know what the injury is that nobody came out and was forthright about it after the game, which isn't a surprise. You don't want to really tip your hat. Kroppus had fired a 2-hit shutout complete game against number 20 Tingsboro earlier in the tournament. He's been so dominant over the last few years. So if they do have him available in the D4 championship, which is Saturday, right? Yeah, because
yes.
D2 and D5 on Sunday. That would be huge for them. But for him to come out after 2/3 of an inning, you'd have to think he's probably pretty hurt. What do you think about that matchup? 4 Seekonk versus 6 Pittsfield in the final.
Yeah, I think Kroppus, status is the big one. It's the kind of biggest determining factor, and probably which way you lean here. Because if he can go for Seekonk, it's hard to count them out. Where he's one of our Player of the Year candidates. He's up to 124 strikeouts on the season. He was already at, I think he was over 100 going into the playoffs, and has just continued to just shut guys down. And he's got the two-way ability too. That's the biggest determining factor here. So if he can go, I would expect him to go. And then for Pittsfield, you got Josh Cody. He's got a 1.3 ERA, struck out 6 in 6 2/3 in the quarterfinals. It was a 12-5 win over Clinton. So kind of, it's tough to use it as the crutch. But I think if Tyler Kroppus plays, you like to think Seekonk will get it done again.
Yeah. And I don't want to speculate on his injury. I can just give you the information that I have. He set down the first 2 batters on strikeouts in his appearance in the semifinal before a walk and a wild pitch. So I don't know if he tweaked something in that start. Again, we're not going to speculate on the injury, but take what you will from that information. All right, let's go to D5. Number 1 Georgetown versus number 3 English, which I'm surprised. D5 usually is like number 10 versus number 13 or something like that in the final. And somehow credit the MIAA for these seedings. Somehow it's all working out according to plan. But there were some upsets in this bracket. Number 15 Greenfield advanced to the Final Four with a win over number 4 Pioneer Valley. Number 28 Mount Everett Regional also took down number 5 Carver. So it wasn't just, as seeded as some of these other brackets were, but D5 has been a little bit more interesting. What do you know about this finals matchup between Georgetown and English?
Yeah, you talk about D1 where it's the best of the best, and even D2, but this might be the most exciting final of the bunch.
Yeah.
Georgetown's been so good this season. Both teams have been so good this season. English is 23-2, Georgetown's 23-1. Georgetown is, I think, the best season they've ever had in program history. It's tough to find a favorite here. Ty Gilmore, I think, might be the one to go for Georgetown. He had a 3-hitter last time out in the quarterfinals. And David Castillo, we were talking about it beforehand where he threw 2 innings or 2 2/3 last time out. Also threw 3 innings in the quarterfinals. Might not be able to go the distance, but certainly should be on sufficient rest to start the game and get a good chunk out of the way for English. And we talk about experience in so many other MIAA and prep school level sports where, juniors and seniors matter, having experience matters. English has 8 seniors.
Yeah.
And this is a group that's kind of been there, done that, it feels like. So it's tough to go against experience, but, Georgetown is Hayden Ruth. He's been fantastic this season. Another guy we had to watch throughout the season. So it's tough to find a favorite here. Yeah,
but it is good. It's a good matchup for English because Georgetown is kind of an offensive powerhouse, and their win against number 4 Pioneer Valley, they had a 5-run third inning, and they had 10 hits in the first 3 innings of the game. But yeah, if you can combat that with David Castillo, who has had a great season, maybe the D5 Player of the Year, and they also had Armanis Romero combined for that shutout in the semifinals. So yeah, if they can kind of keep those bats quiet for Georgetown, you never know. This could be an upset, as much as a 3-1 is an upset. And that switch to Sunday might make guys available too. Those games were supposed to be tonight on Friday, and those extra 2 days of rest, it might give them some more options on the mound. So you never know. But yeah, if I'm going to be working on 10 a.m. on Father's Day, you might as well have a great game. So Georgetown English will definitely fit the bill there.
Yeah, and Romero and Castillo, we should mention, not only did they get it done on the mound in the semifinals, they were the guys that powered the offense too. Castillo went 2 for 3. Romero had RBI double to drive Castillo in.
Yeah.
So really just doing it all for English.
Yeah, and you see that in D5 a lot. These, the best players usually are two-way contributors, at least at this level, maybe not at the college level, but that's kind of par for the course. So that's the deal. Polar Park this weekend. I'll just kind of go through that schedule real quick for you. So the schedule for this weekend, the D4 championship game will be Saturday at Polar Park at noon. The D3 championship game will be Saturday at 3, and the D1 championship game Saturday at 6. And then on Sunday at Polar Park on Father's Day, the D5 championship game will be at 10 a.m., and the D2 championship game, top 2 seeds, that's a good one at 1 p.m. So if you're looking for things to do on Father's Day, those 2 games should be great on Sunday. Now,
attention coaches, need baseball bat bags that last? Meet No Errors, crafting premium quality bags since 2004, the top choice for durability. Choose from stock bags for quick delivery or our semi-custom program for personalized logos in just 10 to 12 days. For a unique team look, try our full custom program. Let No Errors design your next team bags. Visit noerrors.com. That's no-errors.com for details. No Errors, where durability meets style.
Are you looking to increase your batting average and reduce strikeouts? Max BP Reaction Training is the #1 training tool to improve hand-eye coordination, have better pitch recognition, and see off-speed adjustments. Max BP is used and trusted by baseball professionals. It's portable and easy to use and is the ultimate training tool for athletic vision. Max BP invites all Base Path podcast listeners to receive 10% off their order by using code MAXNEBJ24. To get on base more, visit maxbp.com. That's maxbp.com and watch your batting skills increase.
Looking to keep up with all the latest news and information on New England baseball? New England Baseball Journal and BaseballJournal.com are the premier resources for information and inspiration on the New England baseball scene. Have every issue of New England Baseball Journal, the magazine, delivered to your home or office. And don't forget to stay in the game every day with a digital subscription to BaseballJournal.com to receive baseball coverage on clubs, college commits, prep and high school, Division 1, 2, and 3 colleges, showcases, rankings, and much more. Get in the game and behind the scenes now by going to BaseballJournal.com. Just click on the subscribe button and start the subscription that is right for you today. New England Baseball Journal is a Seamans Media publication. Seamans Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.
now, without further ado, let's go to our producer, David Yaz, for our 3 Up, 3 Down segment.
3 up, 3 down.
Yes, time once again for 3 Up, 3 Down. 3 questions that our panelists are completely unprepared for. I enjoy watching them sweat since the camera's not on me, it's only on them. And that's the way it's always going to be. Anyway, today we are going to consider 3 relatively new innovations in the sport of baseball. And I think primarily, I was going to say Major League Baseball, but not necessarily it could be across all leagues. Anyway, first one, the infamous shift ban. So I think is this the first year with the shift ban or the second year?
I think it's a second year.
Second year? Okay, where Major League Baseball banned it. I don't know if it's not done in high school, is it? The shift ban?
I haven't seen it much.
Okay.
No.
So in recent years, it was frustrating to watch, for example, the end of David Ortiz's career, where he would hit a screaming line drive to the right side of the infield, and there are like 4 players over there, and one of them's going to catch it. And they banned it. And I wonder how you think it's going now. Just the other day, there was an example. I saw what was it? An out was disallowed because the shortstop was on the wrong side of second base. So it does happen. Dan, your thoughts first.
I wonder if part of the reason Red Sox fans hated the shift so much is because Ortiz would get so frustrated about it. Yeah. You'd see him like spike his bat going down the first baseline, and he was frustrated. Part of me thinks you should be able to line up your defense however you want in baseball. That's part of the deal. And I think had it not been for Ortiz, maybe Red Sox fans would feel that way too. So I'm going to say I don't like the ban on the shift. I think you should line up your defense however you want to. How
about you, Pat?
Okay, so I'm coming at it as, I stopped playing baseball in middle school. I haven't really been all the way in on MLB for a lot of my life, but I like the theory of the ban shift, I should say, because you don't want it to be like, this is going to be stereotyping here, but you don't want it to be completely home runs and strikeouts and everything else doesn't really matter. Like I do like small ball, like hits up the gap, hits down up the middle and stuff. And so it was annoying to go to a Red Sox game and just see good pieces of contact, whether it was Ortiz or whoever, just get punished by 4 guys being there.
Yeah, I'm still not sure on it. I see both points of view because on the one hand, it's like you're literally drawing an artificial line, like right? Yeah. I mean, the line's not even there. Maybe someday they'll put one in so they can actually see it. But part of me says, learn how to hit to the opposite field or whatever. I mean, yes, you should be able to do that, but at the same time, it's hard to get a hit. And Ted Williams famously said, hardest thing to do in sports. And so it is frustrating when someone hits a ball right on the button and it just doesn't have a chance. So this debate will not end today. It will continue.
I feel like Ortiz, didn't he have a season where he started laying down some bunts down the third base line if they'd shift the third baseman all the way towards second base? I feel like he tried to combat it a little bit.
I was at a game where I saw it with my own eyes. He laid down the bunt on the third base line and an easy single. And but you could tell he hated it. Like you could tell he didn't want to do it too often. And it's not like that was they were going to give him that one, I think. If he kept doing that, so they're still going to do the shift.
I don't know that the Red Sox wanted him to single, when he was in the meat of the order there with Manny for so many years.
But apparently Mickey Mantle used to have as many as like 40 bunt hits a season, and that made him all the more dangerous. So maybe they should learn to. I don't know. All right, we move on. Question number 2. Pat, you can go first on this one. Okay. The automatic runner on second base in extra innings. Now we've got a good sample size. I feel like this has been in place for a few years now.
Yeah,
do we know?
3.
Whatever.
I think that was one of the COVID rules, and it stuck, I believe.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think so.
So now it's kind of a big part of baseball now. Obviously, anytime you get to extra innings, the game is much different than it used to be. Pat, your thoughts, good or bad?
I don't love it. I think it's, it's kind of Mickey Mouse, like even like I remember in the whatever year of college I was in, freshman year, I think, when the Red Sox and the Dodgers were in the World Series and they had that marathon game ended at like 3 a.m. or whatever it was. And, those are, annoying if it's a regular season game, sure. But those are, lifelong memories for playoffs, and they're awesome games, awesome just, theater for the most part. Like sometimes you can slip into a snooze fest and just play a second game. But I don't know. I think it's a little too Mickey Mouse for me, just given like any team basically a 75% greater chance or whatever it is to score. But I do get the sentiment behind it.
I suppose they could start it in
the 11th, maybe that would make a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, right. It is weird. It's almost like when you played wiffle ball as a kid and you had like invisible runners, like something like that. Dan, do you like it or not?
I don't think I like it. I think it just is kind of where you come down on the argument of should the rules be, should you adapt the rules to the casual fans because they don't want to sit down and watch baseball for 4 hours? And so you're trying to speed up the game, or should you adapt them to your most loyal fans who just love the history of the game and all the rules that have existed for 100 years? And my sense is you should adapt it to the most loyal fans. And then if the casual fans fall in, great. If they don't, but I do like the pitch clock because now I'm not a casual fan. I'm a very loyal fan, but I do like going to games and getting home 3 hours later rather than, you're sitting in Fenway until 11 o'clock at night. So,
but get rid of the guy on second in extra.
Yeah, I don't really like that one. I'd probably keep the bases empty.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we move on to the third and final question, and it is probably the least important, but for some reason this is on my mind. In recent years, Major League Baseball parks have installed sort of newfangled LED lights. That allows them to turn off the lights in the blink of an eye, when it used to be you had to let them and back on, because you used to have them warm up and it was a big deal to turn the lights on or off. Now they can flick them, and so what do? In many stadiums, I don't know if all stadiums, but certainly in Fenway Park and others, they do a little light show when the guy hits a home run. But to me, at least, well, okay, I don't want to show my hand, although maybe I just did. But Dan, you start with that one. Do you like these light shows or what?
It would have been fitting for the Dustin Pedroia era of the Red Sox when he was always saying it was going to be a laser show. Yeah. But no, I don't like it. I like to keep the lights on for the entire game.
What do you think, Pat?
I think it depends on the spot. If you're doing it like for, it feels like every pitcher has a walk-up video and a light show these days. But, if you have a dominant closer, sure. Or if it's a grand slam, sure. But, sometimes it feels like they're a little too eager to start flashing the lights and stuff.
Yeah. I think I'm okay with it when a closer comes in because the ball's, well, I guess the ball's not in play technically after a home run. Part of the problem is I don't think it plays well on TV. And TV, it just looks like the lights have gone off. It doesn't look good. It just looks like, hey, the lights just go off? Oh, they came back on. So the reason why it's on my mind is two things. One, first of all, I don't know when this happened. I think it was recently, though. Max Muncy hit a home run for the Dodgers, and the Dodger Stadium dude turns the lights off before the ball lands in the stands. It's because he knew it was a home run, but a lot of the fans at home and watching on TV didn't see it land because the lights were off. And here's the other one, then. This is my pet theory, guys. This is why I'm the best producer in the business, okay? I don't know if you heard the incident that happened between AA ball San Antonio Midland, where a walk-off home run was disallowed. Did you hear this? No. Okay, just happened recently. San Antonio is winning 4-2. A guy from Midland hits a dramatic what looks like a 3-run walk-off home run, and the visiting San Antonio team appeals, saying that the runner, who was, I believe, on second at the time, failed to touch third base before he came around. The appeal is upheld, and the game is over. And the 3-run walk-off home run is disallowed, and everyone freaks out.
I did see that, okay. Yeah.
Now, on the one hand, I guess credit the ump that saw the runner who didn't touch third base. On the other hand, oh, God, what a terrible result. I mean, if you're the guy who hit it, how do you feel? And thirdly, I'm finally getting around to the point, they did that stupid light show thing. And and the lights are going on and off as the players are circling the bases. And who's to say the guy who missed third base missed it because the lights were off and he couldn't see the base? Right?
That's a good point.
I don't think they've come forward and said that. But I watched the replay. The lights are flickering like crazy, and maybe you can't see the base. And let's face it, interesting controversy, right? Because the circling the bases is in theory ceremonial, but in practice it's not. You got to touch the bases, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So, I was when I was in high school, I was a swimmer as well, and I can remember I was in the middle of a race and the lights went off at an indoor building, with no windows or anything like that, and all of a sudden it's pitch black in the middle of the race, and everybody was kind of like, "Are we finishing this race, or should we stop?" But we ended up finishing it.
That's dangerous.
Along the point of not being able to see, like, like you said, it's dangerous. Like someone could just get beamed with a ball if they start it early and it's still in the air.
Exactly. A fan could get hit. And when you said that with the closer coming in, at first I was going to say I was okay with that. But if players are warming up while the closer's coming in and there's a bunch of... If the lights are so fancy, figure out a way to turn off not all of them. Do something else. Have laser beam shoot, or I don't know, get a smoke machine or something. It's just too much.
Does Edwin Diaz still have the best closer entrance? Remember that with all the trumpets for the Mets?
Oh yeah,
that was great.
The kind of almost mariachi band kind of sounding thing. That
Armando Benitez had a pretty good one in Baltimore too. It was like from the show The Wire on HBO. It was the Omar entrance.
Oh
yeah, it was pretty good in Baltimore
with the whistle. The farmer and the Dell. Yeah. Oh yeah, that gives me the chills just thinking about it. Yeah. All right. I don't know if we accomplished anything here in 3 Up, 3 Down, but it was a lot of fun. Congratulations to you both, and back to you, Dan.
All right, we will close it out now. Thanks to Pat Donnelly for the MIAA Championship Weekend preview on the Base Path Podcast. Rate, review, subscribe to the Base Path Podcast on your preferred platform. Thanks to our producer, David Yaz. The Base Path Podcast is a Seamans Media production.